Welcome to the amazing Universal Myths Library. Today we will dive into a journey of laughter and discovery as we compare eerily similar myths from different cultures and eras. Get ready to broaden your horizons and discover how many ancient cultures seem to copy each other's homework when it came to explaining the world around them. Knowing, explaining and understanding the world around us through myths is nothing new. In fact, this form of knowledge is as old as civilization itself. Many of these myths endure through time, passing from generation to generation. Incredibly, many of these myths survive for centuries, even over other cultures. The best example of this survival is the old Greek mythology. Today, they are part of the cultural heritage of the West, and although we no longer pretend to understand and explain the world through these myths, we can say that many of them are still present and are the basis of many novels, songs, plays, or even movies. Our culture is also influenced by stories from other mythologies, for example, Egyptian or Hebrew. That is why it seems to us that they are so unique and that in the past no other civilization had explained the world in the same way as the classical civilizations, but today we are going to dispose these beliefs, because we are going to review myths that are suspiciously similar in different cultures. The famous universal flood wasn't heard of Noah and his ark. But wait a second, did you know that there are many other cultures that also have a wet version of this story? This myth is the most common among mythologies. In every story, the flood is represented as a punishment of the divinity against the human race, many seeking to eradicate it. However, by the action of a hero, mankind survives. We see this in Sumerian mythology, which was probably the first to forge this myth. In it, the gods punish the blackheads by sending a natural catastrophe, from which a man, Zeus, builder of a boat in which the different animal species will take refuge, is saved. The theme is also present in Assyrian literature, where the hero is Atrahasis. Thus, in Greek mythology, tired of the wars between men, sent a flood to exterminate the human being. However, the Titan, Prometheus, took pity on the human being and alerted Deucalion, advising him to build a basket for him and his wife Pyrrha. The myth of a flood knows no borders because we can find them in cultures as distant from the Western cradle as the Mayan culture in America. Uxkhaj decides to wipe out a type of humanity called wooden men by means of a deluge. For the Mayas, this deluge meant a previous judgment, since in the future another one based on fire would come. For the Mapuches, it was due to the fight between two serpents, Tren Tren Vilu, man's ally, and Kai Kai Vilu, man's enemy. The snake, Kai Kai Vilu, decided to flood the land to kill men, and Tren Tren Vilu ordered the men to march to a hill that was not flooded. Those who drowned turned into fish, cetaceans and rocks. As a possible explanation for this myth, it is believed that it originated when the sea level rose after the end of the Ice Age. Other explanations, much more radical, talk about beings from another world, cataclysms, sunken advanced cities, and genetic arcs. Let's talk about love, that feeling that has caused more problems than solved them. As the forbidden romances of mythology. If you thought Romeo and Juliet had a complicated relationship, wait until you see this example from antiquity. One of them is Pyramus and Thisbe. They are two young Babylonians who lived during the reign of Semiramis. In neighboring dwellings, and lost despite the ban of their parents, they communicated with looks and signs up to discover a crack in the wall that separated the houses. According to the Greeks, the solar eclipse is the consequence of a forbidden love. As it turns out that due to the jealousy of the goddess Aphrodite, she decides to separate the sun, Apollo, and the moon, Selene, who are said to be eternally in love, but has the support of Zeus, Greek god that will allow them to see each other for seconds, thus causing the solar eclipse. Who needs to TV soap when you can have gods and goddesses entangled in tangled love triangles? So yes, it is a divine drama. What would a good story be without a brave hero facing impossible challenges? Whether it was Hercules, Perseus or anyone else, They all had to deal with epic quests. That's how things were done in the past. If you didn't face at least one giant monster in your life, how did you know you had lived? Many gods or mythical beings died or were sacrificed for the creation of the world or human beings. One of the most famous is Prometheus, who in Greek mythology is a titan friend of mortals, known primarily for defying the gods by stealing fire from them in the stalk of beanstalk, giving it to the men for their use, and subsequently being punished by Zeus for this reason. The most significant myth of the origins of the world in China is the myth of the giant Pangu. In his role as a cosmological man who dies to create life, he becomes the pillar of the world that keeps heaven and earth apart, and an artisan from whose body life emerges: rivers, mountains, vegetation, man. In Indo mythology, the primordial man Purusha has countless heads, eyes and feet, and spreads everywhere, pervades the earth and is all that has been and will be. He is father of the immortals and of those who go through food. According to the myth, Purusha looked around and saw nothing. He felt fear, and it seemed strange to him because there was no one to be afraid of. He said to himself, "I am." And with that sense of self, the idea of a self-identity was born. But the self did not enjoy existence, for the who is alone cannot share his joy. So he longed for companionship, and since he was the size of a man and a woman embracing, he decided to divide himself into two. From him, man and woman were born. In Norse mythology, Ymir is the first creature of Norse mythology. He is a hermaphroditic giant with the ancestor of all giants, and as several gods also come from giants. She gave birth to Bor, her son, who mates with a descendant of Ymir named Besla, and from their union were born Odin, the chief of the Aesir, and his two brothers Vi and Ve. The brothers built the cosmos from the corpse of Ymir. Understanding the Earth's place in the universe and how it moved must have been very complicated for ancient civilizations that did not have the technology to decipher it. The only thing they had on their side was observation. The curious thing is that in the mythology of many cultures, the Earth was supported and moved because it was on the back of a mythological being. Some African legends thought that the Earth was on the head of a giant where plants would constitute its air, and animals and people would be the parasites living on it. Japanese religious tradition explains that Japan stands on the back of a giant catfish, the Namazu, which lives in the depths of the Earth. This great fish has its head situated under the temple of the god Kashima, who holds it with his cornerstone, Kanameishi. As long as Kashima in the temple, all is well, but when he is absent for some reason, such as in the months without gods, October, the Namazu is released and causes earthquakes. If we talk about sustaining the earth, the turtle deserves an official mention, as it is an animal that recurs in several cultures. From some years now, literature has given us fantastic creatures in the form of giant turtles, which had a very important role in the construction of their world, Maturin by Stephen King being one of the most important. But the idea of a turtle supporting the world is not new at all. In fact, it has thousands of years of history. Hindu mythology, for example, describes the earth as being supported by 4 elephants resting on the shell of a tortoise, which in turn was balanced on a cobra. When any of these animals moved, the earth trembled and shook. Researcher J. Miller, in an article for the anthropological journal Man, endorsed by the Royal Anthropological Institute of Great Britain and Ireland, explained that the tortoise was so popular for carrying something as heavy as the world or the sky because its appearance and shape was suited to the task. Miller assures that so many cultures, the tortoise symbolizes perseverance, strength, wisdom and longevity. Some native people of the United States, such as the Iroquois and the Lenape, also involves these aquatic reptiles with the creation of the world. Only in their version, the earth was created thanks to wet soil being piled on the back of a sea turtle. And there you have it, dear friends, a glimpse of universal myths that have made us laugh, cry and wonder what the hell was going on in ancient times. But remember, mythology is much more than just stories. It reflects our beliefs, our fears, and sometimes our seafood craving. Well, maybe not, but we sure could come up with a seafood myth. Until the next mythological adventure.